Hey everyone, and welcome as we continue our study through the New Testament, looking at the New Testament church. And today we're looking at Revelation 8, verses 1 through 5. And this is the Sam breaking, the Lamb breaks the seventh seal. And we're basically going to wrap up the seven seals that we've been looking at and then go into the next cycle of events through looking at the trumpets. So, Revelation 8, 1 through 5, real quick. So when the Lamb broke the seventh seal on the scroll, there was silence throughout heaven for about half an hour. I saw the seven angels who started to stand before God, and they were given seven trumpets. Then another angel with a gold incense burner came and stood at the altar, and a great amount of incense was given to him to mix with the prayers of God's people as an offering on the gold altar before the throne. The smoke of the incense, mixed with the prayers of God's holy people, ascended up to God from the altar where the angel had poured them out. Then the angel filled the incense burner with fire from the altar and threw it down upon the earth. And the thunder crashed, lightning flashed, and there was a terrible earthquake. And so the opening of the seventh seal here concludes the first act and dramatically initiates a silence, which suggests the suggestion here, the idea here, is that this follows kind of the mystery of God, right, and His dealings with the world, because there's a lot of things we just don't know and we don't understand. Perhaps the silence here goes along with is an analogy to God's rest on the seventh day, right? We said that the seventh seal, um, the seventh day of creation, where God rested. There's some who think that there could possibly be a little bit of a parallel there, and so it was silent for half an hour, and this brief hush period precedes the unfolding of the second act of divine judgment, when God will answer the prayers of His people. And so we're getting ready to roll in that. And this second cycle of judgment is structured around seven trumpets. We see that in this reading where it talks about the angels with the seven trumpets. Like the first cycle, it's going to contain interludes. It contains an interlude. Not the last one had two, and it ends with a glimpse of God's eternal kingdom. So we're going to look at that when we get to chapter 11. The trumpet judgments are actually very reminiscent of the 10 plagues in Egypt. If you go to Exodus 7, start there and read that, you can see the 10 plagues. And they have the same purpose. The same purpose here is to show the powerlessness of the earthly gods, or the satanic powers on earth, and to demonstrate beyond doubt the power and the sovereignty of God. And so we're going to, as we look through those, kind of remember that. But this scene here is a scene of preparation in heaven to introduce the seven trumpets of judgment, and continues the theme of God's receiving and answering prayer. and so the dramatic sounds of trumpets by angels heard, or heralds, and an approaching end. And so that's going to be the thing. But the thing that we see here as well, that before, as we go into this, was the prayer of God's people. And we can see that they're asking for God's ultimate justice and judgment in there. And so there's a mixture of incense. As they do this, they burn the incense on the altar. There's a mixture of the incense and the prayers that reaches God's presence, and it shows that God hears the prayers and is prepared to act. And so then the angel, the angel that's doing this with the prayers, he then throws the fire that's mixed with those incense down upon the earth, and this signals the dramatic beginning of God's judgment. And so we're getting ready to start looking through that, and to use those three things. Not only is there fire, there's thunder, there's lightning, and there's earthquakes. And these earthly events, right, remind us of God's power, His presence, and His judgment. And the one thing I didn't put notes in here, and it hit me as we were reading this, is the fire that is thrown down is the fire that's mixed with the incense and the prayers. And so I think there's a element too of this is God's response to the prayers that have been coming up for justice. And it talks about the justice and judgment for God's people. And so I think there's a part of that that's in line with that. as well, looking at the fire that comes down. And so what we're going to start doing then is tomorrow we will hit the first four trumpets. Look at that and see what happens as those are broke, or as those sound, and then continue on looking through this. And as always, I hope y'all are learning from this. I know this one wasn't as long or as deep, but it's it's a building. It's these cycles of different judgments, different seals, different trumpets, and different events that we'll look through and go through as we continue through this. But like I said, I hope you all are learning from it and continue to do so. As always, I encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so. That way you can continue to follow along with us. And as always, I appreciate everyone who takes time to watch these, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.